Our guest today is a Hall of Fame fighter with a win column like a who's who of a light heavyweight roster, dating back to his debut at UFC 13. An incredibly tough upbringing meant he was driven to develop an entrepreneurial mindset from an early age, playing to his strengths in every respect. Please welcome to UFC Huntington Beach, the Huntington Beach bad boy, Tito Ortiz, to the Escape Your Limits podcast. Welcome, Tito.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
So I kind of put the suit on because I've sort of followed you, and you're probably one of the few people, well, prior to McGregor, that sort of suited and booted, as we call it in England.
Okay. Yeah, I've always done that. We're in a gym atmosphere, so I thought maybe just a collar should be fine enough. But I've learned through my career of dress for success on everything you do, and I've always understood that. So whenever I go to fights or big events, I've always dressed super nice. Even business meetings, I always go and dress super nice.
Right.
You have one expectation, and you got to make sure the expectation's right.
Yeah. Is that part of your brand? Because I guess looking at you, we talked about it, bleaching your hair, and you seem to have been been in it from the early days, but trying to create a sort of a personal brand rather than just a regular fighter. Was that all intentional?
I would say intentional. I failed, but I succeeded in a lot of those things. But a lot of it was I was trying to see what Muhammad Ali, what Hulk Hogan did in their respective sports of wrestling and boxing, and find the happy medium in between. I was able to showcase the entertainment value of Hulk Hogan. I come out with flame shorts, carrying the Mexican American flag, and I spoke what was on my mind all the time, as Ali would do. But you had to have the fighting to back it up. I won a world title after a year of competition. Held on to the world title for almost 4.5 years with 5 title defenses, and I really found a sport that I fell in love with, and with hard work and determination, I've been able to succeed from it.
Right. So take us back to the young Tito. What was your sort of childhood like, and what were some of your early inspirations?
Well, I came from a really bad upbringing. My mother and father had a heroin addiction at an age from 6 to 13. I lived in Santa Ana. I lived in motels, cars, people's garages, little small trailer parks. I went from place to place to place where I didn't know where my next place we were going to live at. All the way up to 13, when my mother separated with my father because one of my friends got shot and killed, and she didn't want to see me in the same situation, so she left my father at my age of 13, and she got remarried. We moved back to Huntington Beach, and I was lucky because at the time when we lived in Santa Ana, I hung out with gangs. I did the gang thing, and because I was always looking for acceptance, I was always looking for love from other guys and learning respect value, and I learned that from those guys. But it was more of the crime side, and I really didn't want to get into it. I didn't feel good about it. My conscience kind of kicked in, and I got into fishing. I fished a lot, so that kept me off the streets. I was always on the pier in Newport Beach or on boats, working on the boats. I started out as a pinhead, which is a person who goes out fishing on a boat with a bunch of other people, and you scrub the boat on the way in, and you're able to fish for free. So I was like, oh, this is great. But during the summertime, I'd go on Newport Pier and fish, and we'd catch bonita. I would sell the bonita to buy my lunch, to buy my dinner, to buy my breakfast. But I think that's when the hustle came into me of understanding how to hustle to make money, and that was selling fish. I'd make sure I get the guys' numbers. As soon as I start catching fish, I would call them, and they'd come to the pier and buy the fish from me. $2, $3, $4, $5 a fish. Sometimes we catch the bigger sharks, we sell them for $20. But I was making money by doing that, and I think that was the beginning of the hustle, where I understood that I was the person going out and making it happen.
What did someone sort of show you that, or was it just instinct that you needed to make a bit of money and you?
I think it was instinctual. I think it was something that I really wanted to survive. I was a survivor. I survived by working hard for myself, and I've always done things right. I've always done things, at least in my mind, I thought they were right. I've never stepped on anybody to get ahead. I've always reached to others as I grow, but just make sure they don't pull me down with them. And if they did, I let go. And as I said, don't let them sink your ship. And I never let that opportunity happen.
So I guess for most people that have been with that kind of upbringing, tough with your parents and getting into gangs, I guess the majority of people would have just gone along with that. What do you think kind of kept you fairly centered and kept those good values that you're talking about now?
Once again, as you said, it's one of those things where you take the right road or the left road. and I could have taken the right road. Through my whole career and everything I think about it, I have 3 choices in life: dead or in prison or where I am right now. And where I am right now has been hard. I've gone through many challenges, up and down, personal, financial, business stuff. I mean, I've gone through so many things that made me the man I am today. But I look at it, I think it's just hard work and dedication. I've dedicated myself to it and do it respectfully, where I can look in the mirror at night before I go to bed, brush my teeth, and go, have I helped somebody today? Have I done things right? Have I did things not to get over on somebody? And I can honestly look in the mirror and say, no, I've never done those things. And yes, I have worked hard to make those things happen.
Right. When was it that you felt you knew that becoming an athlete was something that you wanted to do, or did you go into business before realizing that?
No, I actually started my freshman year in high school wrestling. I love the sport. I walked into the wrestling room looking around going, where's the cage at? Or excuse me, where's the ring at? Because I was a WWF fan, and I was like, where's the ring at? They're like, no, that's a different type of wrestling. And I was like, okay, I'm in, let's try. So I tried my freshman year. I started in varsity, and I was getting cheered and not getting detention for slamming guys on the ground. I was like, okay, I like this. I'm going to keep doing this. Like I said, I became varsity my first year, and I just continued on with it. And the harder I worked, the better I became. I didn't come from a wrestling pedigree where my parents did it or my brothers did it. I did it because I liked it. And I had the other parents who cherished me and appreciated me and showed me love that I've always wanted a kid. The attention that I wanted as a kid, I was getting it through wrestling. And so it was filling that void that I had as a kid growing up. But I got better really quick because I worked really, really hard. I was always working. There was a coach that kind of pulled me aside and he says, listen, when you're not working, there's someone else working. So I always worked. I mean, Sundays I would work. I mean, Monday through Friday through Saturday, I was always doing something different and always doing something extra just to catch up to the rest of the guys. And before I knew it, I was surpassing every one of those guys.
Right. Were there any key values that you learned through your wrestling period that have sort of carried you through to where you are today?
Yeah, wrestling gave me a lot of things where I was able to feel what it was like my body wanted to quit, where I wanted to quit, where I didn't want to go on with the training or do the extra runs or do the extra weight training. But I come to realize when I won took first place, I won these tournaments and I got all this attention, I was like, I'm dying for this my whole life. Now I'm getting it, but how am I getting it? I'm getting it by doing hard work and dedicating my life to this. And it was just for wrestling, and I did it. And I was very fortunate because I learned those things from wrestling.
Right. And how did you go from wrestling into mixed martial arts?
Well, my freshman year in college, I was going to a junior college here in Huntington Beach, Golden West Junior College. I was the number 1 ranked guy at 190 pounds. I got I guess you could call it a full ride for junior college. Thank God I'm Mexican American. They ended up paying for my tuition. They paid for my books. All I had to do was show up for school, and that's what I did because I loved wrestling so much. At the time, Paul Herrera was my old high school wrestling coach. He trained Tank Abbott, who fought in the UFC, and Tank Abbott needed a wrestling partner. And I was the best in the state, so they brought me in with him, and I was like, man, this guy's 250 pounds. He's all, yeah, but just use your technique. And that I did, and I used my technique and taking him down at will, and he was like, you're a tough kid, man. I work hard. And after my first year in UFC, this was before UFC 13, they made a weight class. It was 199 pounds. I wrestled 190 in college, and I told Tank, I go, I want to give it a try. I want to give this a try. I want to see how good I could become by doing this. He goes, you sure you want to do it? Yeah, I want to do it. Give me an opportunity. I want to try it. So a couple months later, I get a call from him, and he says, okay, I think I got you in UFC 13. It was in May 30th, 1997. I fought as an alternate, and at the time I was in college, so I couldn't accept any prize money because if you do any type of professional athletic stuff, that you can't accept any prize money or your scholarship's gone. Right. So I don't want to lose my college degree. I was like, I want to chase this college degree. This is important to me, and I really want to work hard to make this happen. So I fought for free. UFC 13, I fought for free twice in one night. The first fight, I stopped the guy in 22 seconds, referee stoppage, and then I found myself into the finals against Guy Metzger. I was beating him. They stopped the fight. They stood us back up because of bleeding. He was bleeding on the side of his head. And then they restarted, not in the same position on the floor as they do now, but started us back on our feet. He threw a punch. I went for a takedown. He caught me in a choke, and I couldn't get out. He was choking me out. So I tapped. And I learned a lot that night, and I think it was just, it was the hunger. A star was born that night.
Right.
And I never stopped. I went back to college. I went to, Cal State Bakersfield. I got a ride from junior college to Cal State Bakersfield, which is Division I wrestling. I wrestled with Stephen Neal, who was offensive line for the New England Patriots. He walked on himself to the New England Patriots. Never played football ever in college. So I had a great wrestling partner who kicked my butt every single day. I learned the hard work, the ethic through wrestling when I was at Cal State Bakersfield. I mean, we would have to wake up at 6 in the morning, 5 days a week. Then we have our tournaments on the weekends. It was brutal and grueling workouts like no other. But I was able to transition that into fighting. Came to my end of my junior year, me and the coach didn't see eye to eye at Cal State Bakersfield. He really was disrespectful towards me, and once again, it goes back to me as a kid. As people respect me, I'm going to give the same type of respect. And he never respected me. Always said like bad things. We went to a tournament back east called the Midlands, which is a huge wrestling tournament for Division I wrestling. And I ended up going. I won 3 matches, lost 2 matches. And we go to dinner that night, and I order a steak. The guy next to me, who didn't even win a match, he ordered a sandwich, and there was probably about $1 difference. He comes over to me and goes, "What the hell did you order that steak for? You didn't place?" I go, "Excuse me?" He goes, "You didn't place. You don't deserve that steak." I go, "I wrestled my butt off. I went 3-2. This guy right next to me, he ordered a meal that's $1 cheaper than mine, and he didn't win a match. And you're gonna bust my balls because I didn't place, and you're trying to say I need a place to have a steak? I'm hungry." And he's all, "No, that's what I'm saying." I go, "You know what? You can have your food. I'll buy my own." Went over, bought my own food, and I think that was the beginning of the end with that, with going to school for that guy, wrestling under that guy. I got a call through UFC, and they said, "Would you like to fight Jerry Bolander?" And this is a person who I watched in UFC, and he won a few of the tournaments before I fought, and I was like, "That guy looks really familiar." Well, I wrestled him in high school, and I dominated him in high school. So when they said, "Do you want to fight him?" I'm all, "Yeah, I'll fight him." So I left Bakersfield. I came to Huntington. I started training for about 3 months, and then I fought Jerry Bolander. I beat him in 14 minutes, 34 seconds, and it was a straight round, one full straight round, and ended up referee stoppage. Had cuts all over his face. I was beating him down. I mean, I was still a young kid at the time. I was in the sport for maybe a year and a month at the most, and I beat him. Then my next match against Guy Metzger, I had redemption. I got an opportunity to redeem myself against Guy Metzger, and I stopped him in 9 minutes, 24 seconds. And then I was fighting for the world title against Frank Shamrock. Wow. And I lost to him in the fourth round, the end of the fourth round with 10 seconds left. And he was just professional. Right. His cardio was off the chain. After I lost to him, I took about a month break, and I went up to his school up in Sacramento, and I went to go train with him because I wanted to learn the things he was doing to make his cardio so great. And I came to realize it was just a heart rate monitor. That was it. He was monitoring his heart through the highs, the peaks, and having to drop down. And I learned that. I ended up fighting for the world title that same year against Vanderlei Silva, who was a champion in Japan, and I beat him in a 5-round decision because of my cardio. Right. And I guess history's been told since then. I mean, I became the first light heavyweight world champion, and it was a lot of hard work, a lot of grueling training, but just having the mentality of trying to be successful and looking, what am I going to do when I'm 40 years old? You know, what's going to happen in the future? And this is a kid thinking when I was 23 years old, what am I going to do when I'm 40? And all the other fighters, we just want to fight, we just want to knock people out. I'm like, no, I want to see an exit plan. What's my exit plan? And then that's when I came up with Punishment Athletics, my clothing company. And I started that in 1999.
And it's unusual for people to think that long term at that age, I guess, isn't it? Well, from what I've seen anyway, people generally are very short term focused. And
well, I think you got to learn from other people's mistakes. You know, I watch guys like Mike Tyson, for one, who's a friend of mine, who had, hundreds of millions of dollars and all of a sudden had zero. I didn't understand that. It's nice to live a comfortable life where it's lavishing, where you have nice cars, nice houses, jewelry and all those things. But I mean, I think that is just temporary. Right. If you're able to take care of those things for future and forever, I think that becomes forever. Yeah.
Was that a motivator when you was younger to have those? Because it sounds like you didn't grow up with any of that trappings.
It was. I think what really changed my view on life in general is having my oldest son, Jacob. I wanted to make sure that he has everything that I never had as a kid, and it was super important, and being a father was number one. now that I have 2 twins, also Jesse and Journey, who are 9 years old, I want to show them with hard work and dedication achieves in life, and I put them to the test. I put them to these things. Actually, today they just came back from school. It was their last day of school, and we had a bet in the beginning of the year. If they get all outstandings in all their grades, they're able to bleach their hair if they want to. And they come up screaming, "Dad, I did it, I did it, I did it." And they don't understand what they really did, but they just see the hard work that they put in, and they're able to bleach their head now.
Yeah.
But I'm having them to shoot for the stars. If they miss, at least they try to shoot for the stars. Now, if they try to go for something low and hit it, I'm going to be bummed out because they didn't try to succeed as high as they possibly could, and I'm accepting just something that's okay. Yeah. Which nowadays a lot of parents are okay with it. They give their kid an iPad, a cell phone, and just kind of exit out. And I don't want to do that, because my parents did that, and it wasn't that I got an iPad or I got a cell phone. They were on drugs the whole time. So it was something that I'm thankful my mother, she got sober and gave me a different life when I turned 13, and I was able to see that. I think I was a little more mature at my age than a lot of kids were. I mean, selling fish at 9 years old, 10 years old on the pier, taking the 43 bus from Santa Ana to Newport Beach at 9, 10 years old is unthoughtful. I couldn't even imagine my children doing that right now. But it was one of the things. I was a young man that was just through hardship. It was just through hard work and dedication of putting, like when I used to work on the boats, I'd have to get up at 4 a.m. and we'd go out and we'd pull lines, long lines with fish, and come back and fillet fish all morning, and then start baiting lines in the afternoon. I mean, this was 6 days a week that I did this work, and I was 11, 12, 13 years old, but I did it. Yeah. And I look back on it, and I had these things, and I was like, you know, that this isn't so tough. I try to compare these things to those, and just a little flashback. I fought a guy in Toronto, who was it, Nogueira, who fought for the UFC, and I was cutting weight. I had to cut 35 pounds in 2 days. I thought I was gonna die. I made the weight. I'm going to the arena, and at that time I was talking to my boxing trainer, Jason Perillo, who's a super good friend of mine, and before the weight cut happened, I was telling the story that I was a kid fishing on the pier. And I wouldn't want to go home because I didn't want to see my parents using, so I would stay on the pier overnight, and it would be so cold. I wouldn't have a jacket, you know. I had maybe a long sleeve, but it was still super cold. I remember just freezing, saying, please son, come up. Because as soon as the sun came up, I started feeling the warmth of it, and made my body feel warm. Well, when I was cutting weight and I felt like I was dying, I just lay on the floor. I had to walk on the other side of the arena so no other fighters got to see how bad it really was. I remember just laying there, and he comes up to me and he just into my ear and he goes, "Tito, remember that time when you were a kid and you feel how cold it was and how bad that hurt? And that sun's coming up right now." He goes, "Don't worry, that sun's coming up right now." And he put that in my mind, and then all of a sudden it was like, I promise you, my brain just said nope, and I got up and I felt fine. I felt okay, I felt good. And it was weird that how strong the mind can be through trials or through things like this that other people would quit. Other people would say, "Oh, you know what? I'm done. I can't do this anymore." Because I see it happen in MMA all the time. Guys can't make weight. I've never missed a weight through my whole career of 20 years. I've always made weight. And I've always took it so seriously that this is a business. This is professional. That I make sure that I do everything that I'm supposed to do in time in a great manner.
Yeah. So it sounds like you have obviously got clear points of reference when you were younger that have shaped who you've become when now you're older. How do you get that balance with your children that are probably in a fairly privileged position than what you were? How do you get that balance of sort of giving them those lessons to sort of shape their characters without but wanting to sort of give them something that you didn't have?
What I try to do is make them fail. I want them to fail.
Right.
Fail and fail often. That way I know they're trying. If I give them something and they're just okay with it, then I know that I didn't challenge them. I want to challenge them to fail. I fail all the time, but I'm able to pick myself up and learn from those failures. And when I learn from those failures, it makes me a better man. If I'm able to do this with my children, then I'm doing a great job as a father. And as a parent, it's very important to do. Not to give my kids everything that I've always wanted, but make them work for those things. And when they work for those things, they have more gracious or self-esteem knowing that they did it themselves.
Right.
And I think, at 9 years old, these kids, I give them things, but I make them work for it. Nothing's given for free. We don't all of a sudden go get ice cream for nothing. No, you got to earn that ice cream. And they have goldens in class where they get a little gold sticker on their things saying because they were good that day, they helped out, they went and picked up trash, and they do these things just so they can get the Cool King, which is a type of ice cream. It's not ice cream, it's frozen yogurt.
Right.
Because they don't have ice cream, they don't eat candy, they don't drink sodas. They eat like athletes. And I think that's really important because I'm making men. Why give them the opportunity to go out and eat fast food, and eat fried food, candy, everything that tastes great but is truly bad for you?
Yeah.
And I think setting these limits for them is important as a parent. Right. Really important.
Yeah. I was listening to where you sort of challenged them to go and meet so many, like 17 friends or something.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
So me and my girlfriend Amber, after the 17th deaths that were in Florida, the kids who got shot and killed,
right.
We had to think of some idea because when you're at school, there's a lot of kids who walk around who don't talk to other kids. And I had a challenge with my kids. I go, guys, check it out. If you make 17 friends, we can have Cool King for a week. They're like, what? You gotta make 17 friends, kids you have never talked to, you don't know who they are. Ask them their name, what's their favorite food, and what's their favorite place to go, and kind of get to know them. And they were like, done. They didn't realize how tough it truly is. It truly is pretty tough for a kid to go out of his way to go ask a kid these questions. And yeah, it took them until I think yesterday they met their 17th friend.
Really?
It was, but they're like, Dad, they're actually more than half of those are like kind of my close friends now. We have a lot in common. We all like sushi, and it was cool to see because now I'm able to give them a power to have acceptance with other friends, other schoolmates. And I went online. I said, you know what? Let's try to make other people do this. And I had other families reach out to me. I ended up making shirts that says "Make 17," blue shirts, white lettering. And I thought, you know what? Selling for $15 a piece. You buy 2, get 1 free for your kids. And I did that. Took money in my own pocket, and I started. And then so far, so good. They did well. So now that the end of the school year is here, it's like, do I start something, the same thing for the summertime? And I think I'm gonna. And for the next school year, let's do it again. And hope I'm be able to spread, I think acceptance for other children in the United States. I mean, if it could go worldwide, it'd be great. But I think here in the United States, I remember being that kid that walked around, when I was a freshman, that people really didn't talk to me because they didn't know me. And being able to accept a child by finding out all of a sudden, wow, he likes pizza like I eat pizza. He likes to go to the beach like I like to go to the beach. All of a sudden, people have something in common. Yeah. Instead of always being so sheltered and just away from each other, where they're not talking and being friends. Yeah. So, I mean, like I said, when I remember growing up, you always want to go out and meet people. I mean, I was always a people person myself after high school was over because I learned these things through life.
Yeah. And you coach children, is that right? Wrestling?
Yes. So at LaSalle High School, they have a youth program there, and I go in to help out. My kids wrestle there also. Right. But I go in to help out. Just recently, over the last month, I haven't been there because I've been training for a possible fight with rematch against Chuck Liddell, so we'll see. But working with kids is something that I've always liked to do. When I was in high school, when I was in college, I went through and got my physical education major. I have a minor in special education teaching. I want to be a resource teacher. I want to be a wrestling coach. I want to give back to the kids because there was teachers that gave back to me when I was in high school that kind of guided me the right way. I remember one of my assistants, or my teacher's assistants, she would call me in the morning and say, Tito, it's time for you to get up to go to school. Because my mom wouldn't really care. She was like, you go to school, I would be happy with it. But I made sure I got to school. I mean, there's other times that wrestling coaches would come to my house like 7 in the morning, go, come on, man, we got to cut weight this morning. I'm like, oh, geez. But those are the challenges, the things that I'll be able to look forward to through my life to give back to my kids, and it's super important.
Right. How do you balance those two sides? Because you're known as the bad boy, and your persona and how you come across is that you're not a nice person.
See, no, I guess I've done a great job at this. And I guess this is between me and you, I guess all of us now. I really don't like fighting.
Really?
I don't. I'm not an aggressive person.
No, you don't seem...
I'm an Aquarius to the T. If anybody reads horoscopes, I'm Aquarius to the T. I'm loyal as hell. I keep my word. I work hard for what I want. And the people around me, I protect. I like no other. But when it comes to fighting, it feels like it's a defense mechanism in my brain of saying this is your opportunity to showcase. This is your opportunity to entertain. So it's an entertainment aspect for me of not just going in there and trying to hurt somebody. No, I'm going, and anybody who's ever watched my fight, so as soon as my music starts from when I walk out till the fight's over, it's the most exciting fight that people have ever seen. And that's something that I've learned through my career. Is one of the guys who I train with, Tank Abbott, he says, you got to make sure that you do something different than everybody else does, because you want people to talk about you when the fight's over. Right. To go home and go, man, that Tito Ortiz guy, I hate him. Or that Tito guy, I love that guy. That guy has a lot of heart. That guy put on a great show. And I would do these things to make sure that I wasn't forgot about. The fight was over, people were still talking.
Right.
Either they hated me or they loved me. It was never those people that were ever in the middle. There was never everybody in the middle. But I did my job. As of Hulk Hogan and Muhammad Ali did in their respectable sports.
Right.
Ali, people hated him, but people loved him because he talked so fast and he talked so well about. And then, but Hulk Hogan, it was like, brother, say your prayers and take your vitamins. I mean, he was a great role model to kids, and it was someone that I looked up to. And I had an opportunity to have sit-down conversations with him a few occasions, and it's been great just to see how much in resemblance of lives that we have towards each other, but in different sports.
Right.
And it's crazy. I've had one opportunity when, rest in peace, Muhammad Ali, I got one opportunity to take a picture with him. Yeah. I threw a jab and he threw a jab at each other's face, and the next week I got a picture from him signed to Tito Muhammad Ali. So those little small milestones in my life were achieved. And it was because I set the goals to make these things happen. I dreamt about it. I was like, man, one day I want to talk to Hulk Hogan. One day I want to meet Muhammad Ali. And I've been able to do these things through hard work, through
right.
dedication, of showing myself as being the bad boy. Yeah, but I sold it to all the people at home. I sold it to all the people that were buying the tickets. The people who loved me or the people who hated me, they were still watching to tune in. And that was one of the things that Tank told me. He says, when the fight's over, the scary thing you don't want to hear is what people McGregor now, who are just the biggest names in sports because of these things. And yes, you got to win fights and you can't lose, but if you do lose, you got to come back and bounce back and show what type of champion heart you truly have. And I've done it my whole career. I mean, there was almost a 5 year time where I didn't even win a match. I lost split decisions, but at that time I was in a really hard place with the relationship I was in, that everything wasn't about fighting. It was about trying to make her happy and trying to make everything at home happy. But it was, I never took a time to be sacrificed and be selfish on myself, which I should have been when I was the world champion. Because when I was a world champion, I was stingy as possibly could be. I was just, it was me, and that's all I cared about. I would wake up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, I would train at 2, take an hour break, I would train at 4, take an hour break, I would train at 9, I'd take an hour break, I'd go back to the gym and do my weight training at 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, and that was 6 days a week, 4 months at a time, and that was all my life, was strictly training. When you have kids and you got bills and you got all these extra things that kind of all of a sudden they start piling at you if you don't take care of them, it becomes challenging. Yeah. And having a way to kind of find a happy medium in between all of it to make it able to have your time for your kids, have your time for the family, have your time for training, and have your personal time. It's hard, but I've figured it out so far. Yeah. And I think it is just having a companion, or in my case, my girlfriend Amber, to support me the way she does. Right. There's never no second thoughts of anything, who's in my home, if I'm getting taken advantage of, I mean, so many things. And so having my business partner, George Prajin, who looks over me like my big brother. I mean, he's financially well off. His parents did super well for him, but he's a hard worker himself, and he shows me these things in business, and he helps me through he's an attorney, so he helps me through these things. But having this and having the comfortability of understanding now I can work hard, it's like I wish I had this 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I mean, at being 43 years old right now, I take care of my body. I've had some serious surgeries, but I have a great surgeon. I've had 4 neck surgeries. I've had a back surgery. I've had 3 knee surgeries. I've had a reattached retina and probably about 20 concussions along my career of 20 years. But I can move really well. I mean, I got full range of motion in my neck. I mean, I
heard you you're almost paralyzed for a period of time. Is that right?
There was, what was it, in 2013. I was going for a single leg. One of my training partners was getting ready for fight UFC 106 against Forrest Griffin. I tried to do a takedown on my partner. I went to take down my partner, and he grabbed my head and grabbed my butt and shoved my head into the mat head first. And I felt like just like electrocution on my neck, and it went through my whole body. I was paralyzed for about a good minute and a half, where I couldn't move my hands. I couldn't feel anything. And I told my trainer, I go, something's wrong. I go, I can't feel anything. He goes, you sure? I go, yeah, I can't feel anything. He goes, try to move your feet. And I go, am I moving? He goes, no. I go, try to move your hands. And I try to move. I go, I couldn't. And all of a sudden, it felt like electricity hit me again. And I felt burning all through my hands, my feet, and my legs. Well, I ended up rupturing disc C6, between C6 and C7, the disc ruptured. I still fought the fight.
Really?
During training, where it was the same camp. During training, I was sparring. I was, you know what? I don't want to put my headgear on. I'm sick. And he's all, are you sure? I go, yeah, I'm good. Well, I went for a punch, 1-2, and I went to go take down, and my partner dropped his head. We dropped his head. I slammed my eyebrow, and I fractured my orbital bone right here. And this is 3 weeks before the fight. We had the press day the week before the fight, and I was just hitting pads with the headgear on. And they were like, why is he hitting pads with the headgear on? I don't want to show him my injury. Ended up fighting. I don't remember the match until the third period. I don't remember the weigh-ins. I don't remember driving down from Big Bear to Las Vegas. I drove. Don't remember that. Don't remember weighing in. I don't remember the first round. I don't remember the second round. I just remember little blemishes of the third round of knowing if I don't get taken down and I don't get knocked down, I had this fight won. So all I did was cover. He throws strikes and all I did was cover. He won a split decision against me, which any of my fans ever seen that fight, they would say that was BS. But it was one of those things that I put myself through hell. And, you know, in my mind, I won. But in everybody else's mind, at the end of the day, it's what's on paper in black and white, and I lost the decision. But
so what's it like in your head when you're on your own, you know, probably lying in bed after losing something that you put so much into, you know, like almost sort of paralyzing yourself? What goes through your mind at that point? You know, do you question what you're doing, or do you think, fuck it, I'm going to get up and do it again? What's that process that you have to go through?
I think the process is really, what type of person am I? And this is a challenge. Is it a challenge from God? Is it a challenge that I'm giving myself? Am I going to quit? And I think that idea of quitting is maybe about an eighth of a millisecond. I mean, even I highly doubt even that, because my whole life I'm never a quitter. I refuse to quit. I want to try to excel as much as I possibly can in life. And if fighting's the realm that I have to do, that's what it is. If business, my clothing company, now my car business, this is the things that I have to do to make happen. How am I going to support my kids when they get older? How am I support my kids now? How am I going to put food on the table, put a roof over their head? And it's challenging because it's so much pressure, but I'm able to look at it and go, I can make it happen. I refuse not to make it happen. And when you refuse not to make it happen, that's when you succeed even more, because you're able to push through those challenges. And they are challenges. I believe it's a challenge from God. I mean, I've been through so much that made me the man I am today, and I wouldn't take any of it back. People tell me, would you want to ever take back anything as a kid? I'm like, not really, because it made me the person I am today. And I'm lucky because of it.
Do you have to constantly work at that every day to sort of keep that, to prevent sort of any negative things coming into your head about questioning yourself? Or?
Well, this is huge. I'm glad you brought this up. Negativity will eat you alive. If you let that in your mind, it will eat you alive, because my last relationship, that's all I dealt with. There's nothing but negativity. How shitty of a father I was, how horrible a fighter I was. And this was at home. This was my girlfriend. This is a kid I had kids with. And I've dealt with this every single day. I would go through a training camp. I'd be up in Big Bear, and she'd come on the weekends. I would train Monday through Friday, and I would bust my ass. Saturday she would come, or excuse me, Friday night she would come. By Sunday, she would tell me how horrible a person I was, because she wasn't okay with herself. So she would kind of just shine it back on me. And I never understood it until I left. When I got out of that toxic bowl of negativity and look in, I was like, I don't want to be in that dirty bowl ever again. My trainers, after that, and I started training again, and I would have great camps. And they're like, Tito, where in the hell have you been? This is what you need to be, this. And he's all, every time that I would come up to Big Bear, and we would have a great week. Saturday, Sunday, we wouldn't see you, because I would be with her. It was Monday, you would be a totally different person. And we'd have to build you up again. Weekend come, Monday comes around, we'd have to build you up again. And you get cut down so many times that it was just so hard to rebuild you back up. Now, I don't ever have to worry about that. And it's great, because when we go back to negativity, if you're able to live in that type of surrounding, you're not going to be successful.
Right.
You're not going to be able to succeed. But you have people around you who are giving you the positive reinforcement of knowing you're able to do it. Then you start believing in your mind. And once you believe in your mind, anything's possible.
Right.
And it is so true. And go back to your question of sitting in bed and going, am I going to let this in my brain? No. I'm saying, what do I need to do to make this happen? What else do I have to do to make this happen? What challenges do I need to surpass? And I set goals to make these things happen. And once I conquer goal by goal by goal, I look back on them all. I made it happen.
Right.
And it's great.
So it's really kind of doing your own work on yourself, but then also eliminating any external things that
everything.
Could bring...
I mean, it goes to social media.
Right.
My thing is blocking. Anybody talks smack to me, I block them. I don't accept any negativity in my life. I block it. Anybody try to come to me, like just bringing bad vibes around me, I don't talk to them. I keep it away. Once you steer out all the negativity in your life is grand. Life is great, and you can make it happen like that just by the people who you surround yourself with, or the things mentally that you're able to accept.
Right. And do you use that in reverse against your opponents? Because I've seen some of the trash talk where you try and get in their heads.
So here's another thing that I learned from Muhammad Ali was, he said the fight is won before the fight has even started.
Really?
He would manipulate a person's mind so much to have them self-doubt or get them so mad that when they got into the fight, they forgot how to fight. They forgot what they're doing, what their game plan is. They just wanted to kill him the whole time. Well, I understood that same thing was I would pick apart people like no other. But 3 big rules about trash talking. Never talk about a person's family, never talk about a person's country, and don't ever lie.
Right.
Everything should be straightforward and attack them as much as possible. Don't try to mess with those 3 things. And I think it's really a respectful way of doing it the right way.
Right.
Of that way. And there's other guys who talk smack, who say lies, who talk about people's families, but it just shows what type of character they truly are.
Right. And is that all for show, or and afterwards, you see people sort of shaking hands and that, or is that some of that real?
I can make sure I do this the right way, because it can be on both. It could be where it's just for the show, but it could be personal.
Right. Okay.
When I fought Ken Shamrock, it was personal.
Really?
I disliked the guy. I would attack him like no other, because I see how he treated other fans. He'd be very dismissive. He would just wouldn't even care. It's like, these guys are paying for our bills, man. You need to be there for them, and he never understood it.
Right.
But then you get other guys where, there's a kind of a camaraderie towards each other, and you don't want to get over the top. Like Randy Couture, when I fought him, and you say after the fights how you feel. Well, when I was a world champion at the time, and I was going for my 6th title defense against Randy Couture, and he beat me, I respected him too much. Right. I gave him too much respect before the match, after the match. I never talked smack about him. It was just a guy who I looked up to.
Yeah.
And I ended up losing a decision to him, and it felt like my life was over. I was no longer the world champion. I remember at Mandalay Bay sitting in the shower crying, thinking that my life was over, thinking my career was over. But it wasn't. It was just a challenge. It was a challenge to see what type of person I am, what type of champion I truly am. And I was able to bounce back, which I was lucky. I mean, that was in 2003. Right. I've been very, very lucky to see where I am today.
Do you have any regrets from your fighting career?
I think one regret, battling against Dana White the way I did.
Really?
I think we were just 2 personalities that clashed because we understood the same concept of what this business is truly about. I wore a t-shirt that said Dana's my bitch on it. I probably should have never did that one, and I apologized to him many times. It was just a kid, and I had a little influence from the outside too by my ex, who was just saying, yeah, you should do it. But I think that's the only thing, Yeah. I really did it the way I wanted to do it.
Right.
And I did it with respect, and I did it with integrity, and I did it with values. Besides that one thing, wearing the shirt, that was probably a no-no, and any other fighters who are watching this, don't ever do something like that.
No.
It wasn't a good thing. It turned out not being a great thing. I mean, I could have been an ambassador for UFC now, but they think other business. But I don't know, maybe I can grow on them. We'll see. I mean, I'm a business model man, and I work hard and I dedicate myself to whatever I dream of.
Yeah. Are there things from your being an athlete to your business, are there similarities between those 2 worlds? You've obviously got your cars, your clothing, and your various other businesses. Are there certain principles that work in both, do you think?
I think the principles work in all of them, of just having the values and understanding the respect values of business, not trying to get over on people just to make your buck now.
Right.
I mean, I want to get I mean, with my car business, it's a wholesale car business. I work at Mannheim in Fontana. We run an auction lane. I run 150 cars there. And I started 8 months ago with 25 cars. Now we're already up to 150 cars, and I'm working to make other businesses. Well, the stigmatism of used car salesmen is they're shady.
Yeah.
And something I never understood about was putting someone together. I never understood that concept ever, of putting someone together. What do you mean by putting someone together? Well, you fluff them right here, but in all return, that's just a shitty car you're giving them. I want to change that. I want to change that completely by putting my name on it. And like I say, you see right here, it says Tito Auto Group. It's Tito Ortiz Auto Group. It's my name on it. It's not some flim flam auto group. It's my name. It's my personality. It's my person. I'm on the block every week, and I'm selling the cars, and I'm trying to give these guys the best business possible because I'm going to change the whole stereotype of used car salesmen. Yeah. And I think that's very important. When it goes to my clothing company, once again, I'm the person that's in the artwork, my ideas, my things I want to do, and I want to make it affordable enough for the public or my fans to buy. I have a management company, Primetime 360, with my partner George Prasian, and we try to get fighters and treat them right. Not all of a sudden, you're fighting for this amount of money, but it's really this amount of money. No, because I see that happening all the time. Or they have other ulterior motives with sponsorships where they're able to get money on the back end with the fighter's not knowing that. No, we're transparent on everything we do. I'm transparent on everything I do in business and all my businesses, and I think it's really important. Right. Because at the end of the day, karma does happen. Karma does, that's a true statement. It will happen. Whatever you do on others is going to come back on you. Yeah.
We talked earlier about boxing, and one of the things that you tend to see in some of the sort of older times is that, the boxers kind of, they're fantastic in their prime, but then they sort of keep fighting and sort of, go over the edge. You've obviously retired, and we talked potentially about doing some other stuff. How do you know when is the right time to throw in the towel or continue? How do you make that decision?
I really think your body tells you.
Really?
Your body tells you when it's time. And of course age, but I look back on history, Randy Couture won the heavyweight world title at the age of 43 years old. He had defended it for 2 more years. So I think age is only a number. And my mindset right now, I'm truly 33 years old. I'm not 43. My body may feel a little older, but I'm able to do the road work. I'm able to do the weight training. I'm able to do the sparring. I'm able to do the wrestling. I'm able to do all these things because I've had a great surgeon that I've taken care of my body. I'm not a guy that goes partying all the time. I got kids. It's important. So I'm able to take care of myself. Where when I knew it was time, I kind of got bored. I got bored of doing it. It was just like, so many people doubted me. So many people say you couldn't do it. But then when I did do it, I was like, yeah, see? Okay, now what do I do?
Right.
And there really was no challenge in it anymore. Then all of a sudden, Chuck Liddell comes out of retirement and says he wants to fight me. And I'm a person with challenges. I love challenges. And he challenged me, and I hear people say, if you fight him, he knocks you out again. You don't win anything out of it. I go, yeah, but the key word here is I get a chance.
Right.
I get a chance to redeem myself in my own terms, and a partnership where we cut the whole revenue of the whole fight.
Right.
I've been wanting to do this for MMA since I became the world champion.
Right.
Because boxers do the same thing. You watch these boxers who make 15 to 20 million a fight, all the way up to McGregor and Floyd Mayweather. Yeah. Floyd made over 170 million. Conor made 100 million. What am I doing different that they're doing? Business.
Right.
All it is business. Yeah. Of holding it out and doing the right things the right way. And in the beginning, like I said, when me and Chuck Liddell first fought, he caved into the company. He said, no, I don't care. All I want to do is be the champion. That's all I care about.
Right.
We got paid $150,000 to fight each other, each. And they made over $40 million in revenue. Once again, I go back. What am I doing different that boxers are doing to that? Strictly just business.
Right.
And I can look at it now as this third fight that comes out, we're partners.
Right.
We're partners in the whole business. Oscar De La Hoya, one of the greatest boxing promoters ever, is like, I want to see what this MMA stuff's about. I've been in the business such a long time because I can help them through these things, through the matchmaking, through the production, through all these different things. It's easy. Yeah. It takes hard work. It takes dedication. And if you see something great, you got to dream it. You got to make it happen. When you make it happen, you look back on it and going, that was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy, but you made it happen.
Yeah.
And I think I've done the same thing with UFC. I have a 16-year career with them, and I've never fought anywhere else but the UFC. I I think I have a little bit of credit that I could take for the $4.5 billion they made off selling the company. It's true. It's the truth. Me, Couture, Liddell, I think we were the ones that made it happen.
Right.
And it's super important. And I'm thankful for Lorenzo Fertitta. I'm thankful for Dana White for giving me the opportunity that I did. I wish I had a smarter business moniker back then.
Right.
But I signed contracts because, I was making a couple million a fight. That was great. But I look at the back end where they're making 40 to 50 million a fight. I was like, once again, it was a bad taste in my mouth. I was like,
right.
I'm killing myself. I'm getting surgery, doing ACL replacement, L4-5, S1 fuse, C6, C7 fuse, a disc replacement between T3, T2, T2, T1, T1, C7 disc replacement. Was it C4, C3 fuse, C3, C2 disc replacement, reattached retina, about 20 concussions, fracture orbital bone. I mean, stitches. I mean, thank God I take care of myself. Like I say, I don't really look at that much as a fighter because every time I meet people all the time, they're like, "You're Tito Ortiz."
Your ears are still there.
My ears are good. I've been lucky. They're like, "You don't look like you've been beat up at all." I go, a couple times, but I've really taken care of myself, and I've always been the dominant person on top. But at the end of the day, I can look back and say, I did it the right way.
Yeah. So you're obviously a guy with goals. What are some of the goals that you've yet to achieve that you're going after next?
I guess I got to talk about the goals that I have achieved that I've set.
Right.
When I was 23 years old, my goal was to be a millionaire. Right. By 24, actually 25, I was a millionaire. Right. I wanted to buy my home where no one ever lived in, a home that was brand new. I got to do that at the age of 25 also. Actually, I'll take that back. At the age of 24, I did that. Bought a home downtown Huntington. I still have. Actually, I gave my mother as a Christmas present about 9 years ago. I was very fortunate. I've always wanted to do that. Starting businesses has always been my goal, and I've done that. Giving my kids everything I never had, and I'm doing that. And it's hard, it's challenging. What do I have for the future? This car business, I think it'd be very lucrative, and has been fairly lucrative, not as great as I thought it'd be, but it's only been 8 months.
Right.
But I expect it to be really, really big. What else? I would have to say, the acting side of it. I like to do acting. That's something that I really want to kind of achieve towards. And it does take hard work. People think, you can just get in front of a camera and act normal. No, it's not that easy. You got to find the attitude. You got to find what that character, what he's feeling. And I was lucky to actually go to an acting coach and learn some of the things that I've learned of having the 20 questions of that character. Where's he from? Who's his brother? Who's his mom? How'd he grow up? And fulfill all these 20 questions, then all of a sudden you find your character.
Right.
And I've been able to do that. So I really think acting, the business stuff, my management company, I wanted to be one of the greatest management companies in the world. We have one of the best women fighters in the world, Chris Cyborg, who's a monster, but she's a hard worker. And I coach her in wrestling also, so I show her the hard work and the sacrifices that I've done through my life and through my career. And she has adapted to her career too, and it shows in the cage when she fights.
Right. And what advice would you give then? Because I guess there's younger people that are looking up to you, and you've not only succeeded in business, but as a world-class athlete, which is pretty impressive. What, if you had to boil down what it's taken to get there, what would be sort of one of the most important lessons that you would give to someone that's young, saying, well, I want to be a successful athlete, or I want to be a successful business person? If you had to try and boil those down, what advice would you say, would you give?
Hard work, dedication, and respect.
Right.
Those are the things, huge things. It's not easy. This fight game is not easy. Business is not easy. There's always someone trying to get over on you one way or another. But being that person not trying to get over on others is respectful.
Right.
Challenge yourself. Challenge yourself outside the box. Don't live in the small little box of being comfortable. Living comfortable, I think, is an easy way out. But willing to sacrifice or challenge yourself to higher and bigger things that you're like, people come up to you like, you're not going to be able to do that, dude. And all of a sudden you do it, and you're like, proof's in the pudding. This is what I've done. You could see what I've done. And I think having a 20-year career in mixed martial arts and business the way I've had, people can't ever look back on me and say something I've done bad in business, because I've never done anything bad in business. I never got over on somebody to help on my own. I've always walked away from money instead of accepting the money to go, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. Like I say, it's respect value. I can look in the mirror and say, I never got any money over on anybody. You know, I've helped people as I came up, and I've done it in a respectful way. Once again, I have integrity for myself. Having the integrity to do these things with hard work and dedication, anything's achievable, anything and everything. And I have no doubts of anything I can do. When I have a doubt, I think about stuff when I was a kid, of being broke, of living in a motel, of eating government cheese and powder milk with cornflakes. It wasn't Frosted Flakes, it was cornflakes. The government cheese, cutting off the green parts of the cheese so I can make a grilled cheese sandwich. I remember those things. I remember those hardships that made me who I am today. And I think a lot of people can understand that because they go through that. When when adults have children, they expect the children to kind of survive themselves. But we need to be role models towards those kids and inspiration towards those kids to show them what hard work is, show them what dedication is. And I'm teaching that to my children now. And it's super important, really, really important. So I think it's just hard work, dedication, and respect.
Right.
Is very, and integrity. Integrity kicks in there too, man. Doing everything right.
Yeah.
Not trying to get over on somebody, as in the car business, putting someone together. I never understood that attitude. I've never understood that.
And it's difficult, I guess, not, in a lot of cases, it's like, well, I can make a bit more money, and I guess there's a lot of pressure on people to try the shortcut, to get there quicker.
Well, if you try to get to the shortcut, then you understand that shortcut's only gonna last so long. Let's do it slowly, forever.
Yeah.
And in the car business, that's what I've said to many of my clients is, I ain't here for the short buck. I'm here in the long term with you. Yes, my business is only 8 months old, but let's talk 10 years from now, where we're gonna be. Yeah. We're gonna take over this whole business. And in the management company, same exact attitude. Me and my partner, we have the same attitude. It's like, well, I mean, we can get this and that, but are they gonna be happy? That's what we want to think about first, is for them to be happy and doing the right thing. I mean, I have a great partner with a management company, George Praisian, and I have a great partner with my car company, Tony Nino. It's just surrounding yourself with great people who have the same attitude. You know, it took me a little bit to kind of give that same attitude to Tony because he was always on the defensive mode, or he was always on the feeding his kids and making sure his family comes first and doing. But if you can do that same thing but respectfully, I think I've grown on him because
right.
He has. He's like, well, let's think about this first. Yeah. And if you stop to think about it, now you're thinking. Now you're using your heart and not just your mind and going on the first instinct that happens.
Yeah. And do you think also, because I've noticed that you tend to, like you say, think out the box and do things a bit differently. I was listening to how, you're one of the first people to give out the cards on the seats before the fights, and just, the hair, and I know you seem to have sort of modeled, as you say, Muhammad Ali and that, but is that part of your style, just to try and do something that nobody else is doing?
I did that night. I had the first fighter cards. People see the baseball cards. I had first fighter cards, and I would pass them out everywhere. My clothing company I would be in the arena selling my clothing company before my fights. I was in Japan, I sold everything, and I went in and won the world title.
You was the one who sold it as well as
I'm the one who sold it also. I used to go out and hustle t-shirts, Punishment Athletics. I'd go out and hustle shirts, and I would make not great money, but I'd make a few $1,000s every event. So it started, all of a sudden when I first started, it was $500 I put into the company. My brother had a screen printing in his garage. We started screen printing a couple shirts. I put Tito Ortiz on the shirt, put it on my website, and 500 turned into 1,000, 1,000 turned into 10,000, 10,000 turned into 20, and just grew and multiplied and got bigger and bigger. I mean, yeah, we do a little bit under $1 million a year, if I'm lucky, but it's just, I've kept it small to keep it all, instead of just selling out and giving everything. Yeah. And I've been fortunate, very fortunate.
Yeah. And so final question then, so the podcast is called Escape Your Limits, and Escape Your Limits is about doing things that probably you've thought to yourself are impossible, or other people have said are impossible. What would be your most memorable example of escaping your own personal limits?
I think winning the world title. When I won the world title, I was only in the competition for a year and a half, and I sacrificed everything I possibly could to make it happen. I dreamt about it.
Really?
And I would go over in my head and just rehearse it over and over and over and over and over. I mean, round after round after round, from when I walked out to when they announced my name to when the first punch is thrown. If I got hit and I got tumbled and I don't know where I was, all these things happened in my fight when I won the world title. Almost every fight that I've ever had that I won, I've had these same pre-notes in my mind of going, this is how it's going to happen. Then what happened was like I already succeeded in my mind before the fight even started. It goes back to Ali. You beat the guy before the fight's even started. I made these things happen because I rehearsed them so much, where I made it an automatic. My last fight of my career against Chael Sonnen was another one. We drilled the same moves over and over and over. Takedown, mount, ground and pound. Guy gives his back, go for the choke him. If people watch, go to my Instagram. It's Tito Ortiz, 1999, and it was right before the fight, and had the pre-workout we do for the media, and I hit a single leg, I dump it to his back, I push side mount, I get on a mount, I punch, he gives his back, and I give a choke. The fight goes exactly like that, to the T. I rehearsed it so much in my mind, it was just reaction. It wasn't an action, it was a reaction to everything. It would just happen so fast. But I say, from winning the world title to my very first match to my very last match, it was just rehearsing in my mind over and over again. And never doubting myself when I did it. There was never any doubt. I believed it, I made it happen. And when I did, I looked at it, I was like, wow, it was really that easy. And it is that easy.
And where can people find out about you, like future fights, clothing company?
Of course, I'm on my social media. It's Tito Ortiz on Twitter. On Instagram, it's Tito Ortiz 1999. On Facebook, it's Tito Ortiz. My companies are punishment.com. Like all clothing, all training outfits can be purchased there for kids to adults. TO Auto Group, TOAutogroup.com for wholesale cars. Primetime 360, which is our management company. Could be on Twitter at Primetime 360 ESM, and on Instagram, exactly the same, Primetime 360 ESM. And that's pretty much it. I've worked hard, man. I'm very fortunate, and I think just hard work pays off. And I'm not done yet.
No.
At the age of 43, I still got, a lot of hunger in me still. So.
Yeah, you sound as though you got a lot to do. You've been very good at creating things that are in your mind and making them happen. And
and I think it's not just for the fact for my family, for my kids, but I think it's for all the fighters who are up and comers, even people just in business in general. When they say, "Oh man, I had a hard day at work, a hard week at work. I got a 9-to-5 job." Well, back in 2005, when I worked for Donald Trump on The Celebrity Apprentice, my question to him was, "How do you become a billionaire?" He goes, "Well, to stay a millionaire, you got to have 5 sources of income coming in and running those 5 sources of income." I said, "Okay, well, I'm at number 4 right now." So he goes, "If you want to become a billionaire, you have those 5 sources of income running themselves, and you're able to start others." I was like, that's a challenge to me. And he didn't even know it. I mean, I don't even know if he remembers the conversation, but I took that to heart so much that I've been burned and bred it into my brain that I have not stopped since 2005. 2005 when I did Celebrity Apprentice, and I haven't stopped since then. Now that he's our president, it just blows my mind. I'm just like, wow. I mean, he's doing things that other presidents couldn't have done in 70 years, and he's doing things. And I know, I wish all the success to him. I voted for the man, and I get a lot of heat from my Mexican side of the family, but at the end of the day, we live here in America. I want it to be safe for my children's future, for their children's future, and I think that's what's really important. And like I say, I'm not a Republican, I'm not a Democrat, I'm neither. I'm just a human being on this earth that's trying to do the right things for the future of humanity, man. It's super important. And if I'm able to be inspiration in someone's life, I've done my job. I don't want to be a role model because I went through a lot of things as a young kid, a lot of things as a young adult that I don't want other kids to model that at all. But being an inspiration in their life of going, I want to do the good things that he's done in his life. So I'm very fortunate.
Well, some great lessons there.
Thank you.
Logging it. So appreciate your time. Thanks for coming down here today, and best of luck for the future.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.